What are heavy metal beetle demons, and how'd they almost end up in A Quiet Place? A Quiet Place may be all about the horrors of sound, but aesthetics matter too. Certainly, the frightening beasts that drove humankind close to extinction have a lot more going for them than their sensitive hearing. These monsters are physically formidable, hunched over and crawling on all fours in a deeply off-putting way. They are covered in black, inky chitin, packed with inhuman ridges and dips. And that's all before you get to their faces, which are about as gross as horror monsters get.
I kind of stole from a bunch of real-life creatures, a lot of prehistoric fish and stuff like that just look so crazy they don't look like they could be from this planet.
These monsters are both fascinating and terrifying to watch on screen, boasting a design that mostly draws comparisons to Alien without appearing too derivative. And yet, they aren't always supposed to look like that. In an interview with Collider, director, writer, and actor John Krasinski explained that the design of his monsters actually changed pretty deep into the film's production. He said, "I had designed this character and this creature and we loved it. And then I was really deep in the post-production, and it was one of those moments where you could just see that he wasn't going to work as well as a different design." It's always interesting when important visual changes occur so late in a film's development, and while Krasinski didn't quite explain exactly what wasn't working, the original design clearly looks a lot different from the final product. For example, these creatures are much taller than the hunched-over beasts we get in the finished film, while the original monsters also had giant devilish horns, which do, admittedly, look pretty metal. It's possible that the size and style of these beetle-like monsters proved too complicated to fit into Krasinski's at times claustrophobic film, or maybe the giant horns didn't really fit with the movie's more stripped-down style. Whatever the case may be, they didn't make the cut. Krasinski and his crew nevertheless served up a heaping helping of spooky monsters to terrorize the family at the heart of A Quiet Place. And it's a good thing too, because movie monsters play a huge role in setting the tone and aesthetic of horror films. A Nightmare on Elm Street would feel like a different movie if Freddy Krueger didn't look like Freddy Krueger. Creatures such as xenomorphs from Alien or the alien in John Carpenter's The Thing lend huge amounts of atmosphere to their respective films. The oily black angles of the xenomorph's design mirror the industrial hallways of the film's spaceship, while the monster in The Thing provides a shocking juxtaposition to the movie's Arctic setting. All of that begs the question, how did the design of the Quiet Place monsters alter the aesthetics of this movie? The creatures in A Quiet Place didn't quite break the mold, but their giant ears and bug-like features drive home the concept of the movie, which is entirely based around sound. The fun thing about watching A Quiet Place is that, in every scene, it feels like there's a killer hiding in the house. Every noise has consequences, and the look of these monsters really drives that home. On the other hand, Krasinski's original design looks like the kind of hell beast you might see in a heavy metal music video. The much taller, more rigid monsters resemble demons straight out of a Baldur's Gate knockoff, not in a bad way, just in a different way. A movie that leans more heavily on 80s tropes or devilish plotlines could do a lot with tall horned monsters. On the other hand, a film could use a monster like that to inject a little bit of fantasy horror energy into its aesthetic. And that's not to say these monsters wouldn't have worked in A Quiet Place. They just would have made it much, much different. Indeed, there's a lot that goes into making a horror film, but the monsters truly make the movie.